to hour two of As Goes Wisconsin. Greg Bach is on the board. Carole Kane
Yep.
in studio with me and joining us. I love this segment. Dr. Michael McCutcheon is here, our resident life relationship career coach who draws on his training in counseling psychology to help improve relationships, set and achieve goals, and pretty much just fix our lives. You can find him at thedrmichael.com. Dr. Mike,
Yep.
how you doing this morning? Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you all. How was your week?
Week was good. I don't know if you saw Francis's debut yesterday that Kristen posted.
So good, yes. And
It's adorable.
I've been so good. Yeah, I also was listening to the show a little bit ago, and honestly, you made me hungry. I need to come to Wisconsin, come to those restaurants. I honestly was getting so hungry, and Carol going on, "This is the best roast chicken in the world." I was ready to run through a brick wall for
There you
that
go.
roast chicken. Yeah.
You know what? I do have to make one correction, though, because I misspoke. And the restaurant that was nominated as the best in Wisconsin was Birch, not Braze.
Okay.
Braze is great.
Right.
Braze is
Nothing
great,
against
but this
Braze.
is Birch.
Okay. Oh, Dr.
So-
Mike, you're going to be thinking about roast chicken all day now. It's just the way it's going to be.
I know. And it's that time of year too, right? Where you want that cozy. Give me
Yes.
some roast chicken. Give me some like parsnips and turnips and sweet potatoes and
Mashed
I'm just
potatoes.
You're not
all of
helping
it. Yeah,
this.
yeah. No, exactly. Too bad this question today. Maybe this will be how to gain 10 pounds over the weekend. I hope that's what the question is because I can help with that. Let's go.
Well, this is a good one. All right, here's the situation today, Dr. Mike. I'm a 35-year-old guy, and my fiance is wonderful in so many ways. She's the best mother, has a great sense of humor. We have an amazing sex life, and she is always the smartest person in the room. But one thing that has always given me a case of cold feet is that she doesn't seem to care about my career or finances. I work for myself, so I often talk about feeling stress about these topics. Every time I bring them up, I can tell she zones out. She gives me a canned response and then she changes the subject. As our wedding draws near, I have begun realizing she does the same kind of change the subject trick when I talk about politics or soccer, both things that I love to talk about. Should I tell her she needs to start being more invested in my interest if our marriage is going to work? Have I picked the wrong woman? What, Dr. Mike, should he do?
Well, first of all, it sounds like you have a great relationship. No, Jane? I mean, that's a lot of
That's a lot of
big,
positives.
it's a lot of big boxes. Good mother, right? Sense of humor, amazing sex life, smartest person in the room. It's pretty good. You know, I mean, I can't look. I can't tell you who to marry or not. I mean, I guess if you want to marry somebody who's really into talking about money the national soccer team, go for it. Those are the most important things to you. Look, in relationships, we have to weigh what are the most important things to us. You started off by listing some things that I think would be really important to a lot of people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Can you laugh with somebody? Do you have good intimacy with somebody? Do you find them to be smart, and would they be a good co-parent? Those are some pretty good things. But since you're asking me, that is the point of the segment, right? You want me
Right.
to tell you what to do?
Exactly.
I will say, since Carol got us riled up today and is making some very declarative sentences, I will follow Carol's lead and say, repeat after me. Your partner does not have to be your everything. Okay? We have this idea in this, I don't know where we got it from, and if it's just America or Western culture of the 21st century, your partner has to be your best friend and your sex buddy and your co-parent, but also your therapist and the person that you go to games with and shows with and shopping with and you eat all your meals with and your financial advisor, the funniest person you know, your priest to listen to all your confessions and your masseuse and everything else. I don't know. I think it adds a lot of pressure on a relationship when you ask all of that from a partner. So I actually think it's actually really healthy if you and your partner don't have every single activity and every single interest that overlap. I think there's something that we have in our lives for that. And I think those things are called friends, Jane.
Yeah,
I don't know what you think.
I
I agree with you.
yeah, I do too.
You cannot be everything to that
Yeah,
person. You just
yeah,
can't.
But don't
yeah.
you think that this warrants a conversation?
Hmm. Yeah, you can say, I think that you check out around this, and my finances are going to be our finances, right?
Definitely.
And so I wonder what it is about it that makes you want to check out. Maybe this is just a touchy subject for her, that just finances in general are something that makes her uncomfortable, and there's something
But
deeper going on there. But
but
this idea that she doesn't want to talk about soccer, or she just, she doesn't talk, these kinds of things. I think he said it. Did he use the phrase "cold feet"
yeah.
in this? You know, it's I think he's kind of self-diagnosing here a little bit, right? It's yeah, I think it's okay. I think you're right, Carol. Let's have a conversation about it. But this idea that we might not want to walk down the aisle because she doesn't want to talk about politics or soccer, go get a beer and hang out with your friend, or go to what is it called? Braze? Is that good? Go to Braze and go and go talk about politics with a friend. And you don't need this person to have to have every single interest at a 10 that you have. Of course, she glazes over. I'm on the side of our callers. We need to be looking out for the side of the people who are our who the people are calling in here. But I'll say this: let's just play devil's advocate for 1 second, Jane, if we can.
Sure.
Imagine if someone kept bringing up a topic or several topics that you found boring on a regular basis, and they did it in your house, right? Imagine if you kept doing that, and you were thinking about marrying them, and you kept thinking, "Oh my gosh, do I have to hear this man drone on about this, about his business or the payroll at his business for the rest of my life in my house?" You can imagine how she might sort of feel too. Like, are you not getting the hint that I don't want to talk about soccer or talk about how you're stressed if you're, with your business all the time? Like, why don't you talk to, your CFO about this? Why don't you talk to your therapist about this? Maybe maybe I don't want to talk about these things all the time. So you can imagine for her, she might also think,
I
"Geesh,
don't want to hear
do I
this.
want to do I want to listen to this for 50 years?"
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be said too. There's a lot of organizations. Business Networking International is a great thing, or Young Leaders of America and all these sorts of things. He can go out there and find other people who would love to talk about business things with him. They don't necessarily have to be um, his wife, right?
But I do think it's critical. I think this is a critically important part of any healthy relationship is to make sure that you both have the same attitude about money.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, some people rob Peter to pay Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Other people like
Yeah,
me are very anal retentive about paying bills on time, not overextending credits, all those things. Because isn't that one of the main drivers of breakups, Dr. Mike, is not having an understanding about how you handle money.
that's right. People don't talk about it, and then when they do talk about it, it's way too late. A lot of times, and it's a huge fight. Greg, what do you think about this?
Well, the question, I do agree with that, and I'll be open and blunt about this. In the first years of the marriage between my wife Bridget and I, there were conversations she tried to have about finance that I didn't want to have because I was embarrassed, and it made me feel less than, and it was a hard conversation. To this day, she's like, "Can we talk about finance? I'm in a way better place now." And I'm like, "Of course we can. I'm there with you." And I realized how I sounded. But yeah, that can be difficult, but you got to power through it. But the point I wanted to make was I'd ask this person, do you have any other, and I mean this truly with respect, do you have friends you can talk to about these things as well? Because a
Mhm.
lot of times we'll see people, and a lot of guys too, they will fall into their relationship with a person, and that person becomes, as you said, their everything.
Right.
Do you have
Yeah.
buddies you can just go have a beer with? Are they out there and have these
Mhm.
conversations?
That's a
It's a
lot of
great point.
pressure. That's a lot of pressure to put on one person to be your everything.
Mhm.
You're never
Yeah.
going to find the perfect puzzle piece for your puzzle. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
Everybody, and I think actually a little bit of discourse is what makes the relationship interesting.
Yeah. No, yeah. Why not use it, as an opportunity, right? Greg, if you felt like, okay, this person who I'm talking to all the time, who I'm trying to make my everything, I see them zoning out, as opposed to trying to, force a square peg into a round hole, or, why not say, maybe I should join a soccer league? You know,
Yeah.
maybe why not? Why don't I, again, why don't I have some friends who also are entrepreneurs or something like
Yeah.
that, who I can, why am I trying to, make somebody, talk to me about something that they
They don't
don't
And
want
want
to
to
talk
talk
about.
about?
and are there
Oh,
You know,
conversation pieces that she has or points that she has where you're like, this ain't my jam either? Are there things
yeah,
she has that
that's
you're like, this isn't my thing?
yeah, that's okay. And I think too, we have made that point earlier. Maybe she's shying away from money for the money conversation for a reason. My, you're gonna hear me say this a lot this year, Greg and Carol. So just be ready to be annoyed by this. Jane's already annoyed by it. My advice with a lot of this stuff is please enter these conversations with curiosity. Be curious as opposed to being accusational. She doesn't want to talk about this. It's a problem. Should I get out of this relationship? Did I pick the wrong woman? How about being curious, right? Hmm. I wonder why she doesn't want to. I wonder what, so asking about her relationship with money, and asking yourself, I wonder where I got my idea that this person has to be everything to me. Where did that come from? Just be curious. That's all.
Dr. Michael McCutcheon is our resident life, relationship, career coach who draws on his training in counseling psychology to help us with our lives. You can find him at thedrmichael.com. Dr. Mike, always lovely to see you. We will see you next Friday at 11:06.
Bye.
Good to see y'all.
Take care. Stay close. We're coming up against the break. We will be right back. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. Jane Natnair in Fort Kristen. Bryant. Greg Bach is on the board. Carole Kane, my good friend and colleague, sitting right across from me.
Yep.
In the studio.
Yep.
Coming up in just a little bit. I'm excited about this. The Wisconsin Arts Board Executive Director George Tzougros and Board Chair Brian Kelsey are going to be joining us. The Wisconsin Arts Board celebrating 50th anniversary this month. It is the state arts agency serving Wisconsin now and for the next 11 months. They are spotlighting some of the amazing work that artists, art groups, community groups do, most of them with help from the Wisconsin Arts Board. So they give
Right.
out grants and they connect these groups up, and we have small, little, wonderful theater companies and musical,
Yeah, you've got a tremendous theater background. I know you do. I can't act my way out of a paper bag. So you can imagine how much I appreciate the talent pool that is out there, because we have some extremely talented people. In fact, I just emceed my good friend Karen Valentine. It was a drag show down at La Cage, and what they did, it was their 4th anniversary of their Bosom Buddies show that they do, Maple and Karen, and they brought a bunch of people in from all these different
Oh, neat.
and they sang, and it was wonderful. Listen to me. It was real. That wasn't too Wisconsin, was it? It was wonderful. But it really was amazing. The talent. It's just unbelievable to me.
And none of that would happen without the community support that these groups get from all over the state. Without an audience, there's no one to perform to. So,
and what I want to ask is, I want to ask what the mission statement is, as we are in the 50th anniversary, because I think it's a very interesting mission statement that the board has, and I'd like him to explain it.
Well, we're going to find out more about that coming up at 11:33, so stick around for that. Right now, I want to back up a little bit. We just had Dr. Mike on to help fix your life, and the question was from a man who is engaged. He loves his fiance. She's a wonderful mother. She's funny. She's the smartest person in the room, but she doesn't seem to be very interested in his career or in his finances. He's self-employed. And Lynn from Economowoc on the text line checking in on that. If his fiance won't talk about finances, maybe she's hiding big credit card debt. Keep your finances separate.
I'm not gonna go like that. I see where she's coming from. I would say be curious, as Dr. Mike said, and maybe ask. But yeah, Bridget and I separate. Like we have a joint savings account that we can draw from if both of us need it. But she makes her money, I make my money. We spend our money on what we want. We don't ask permission.
Right.
We live our lives like that, and that's it. And someone once said to me, he goes, you can't really be married and truly live a life if you don't share finances. I'm like, that's a very esoteric and arbitrary thing to say out loud.
Absolutely.
Like,
Of course you can.
yeah, it's such horse hockey, as my dad would say.
844-967-2789, 844-96-party. Paul and I have separate finances.
Yeah.
And I would, because it was my second marriage, I made that very clear. It's like, no, we're having separate things.
The only thing that Lou and I share a joint checking account. That's the only thing we share.
Yeah.
Everything else is separate. And I mean, it's fine. Has he pulled some stupid moves? Yeah. Yeah, that's in all honesty. I mean, he's done some really stupid things with his money, but that's your fault. That's not mine. You're not bruising my account.
844. Excuse me, I'm just choking to death.
I wondered what was happening.
844-967-2789.
You need
If
some
you want
water?
to check in on this, yeah. Stephen is on the line. Good morning, Stephen. What
Hi,
do you want to
Stephen.
say? Oh, we just lost Stephen. The one thing I do want to say about this for sure, and this is going to sound really harsh. I would not marry anyone unless you get if they will not share their credit card statements with you.
Oh no,
I want to know how much debt you carry.
Right. No, that's a very smart thing.
And I understand when you're in love, and I love this person,
Right,
and everything is
hearts and
sunshine and
roses and-
flowers, and
yeah.
it's all great. Well, that's
And all of a sudden the Visa bill shows up and they're in 10 grand.
exactly.
Yeah.
And when you marry, that becomes your debt too. So it is really, really important, I think, to make sure that you know how they are with money.
I just, the money situation is one thing. This guy brought up a couple of things, trying to talk about your job and things like that. I mean, there are certain things that are just going to be mind numbing for certain people. That's
sure.
all there is to.
Yeah.
But I think some of the best conversations that Lou and I have ever had are when we are completely different.
And you don't agree on everything.
And and I know people that, and I mean that in all sincerity, about you're not going to find the perfect puzzle piece for your puzzle. Because I know people that they nitpick and everything's got to be just perfect.
And that's just not how life is.
No, life doesn't work that way.
Cindy from Appleton is on the phone. Cindy, real
Hi,
quick,
Cindy.
we only got about a minute left. What do you want to say?
Well, the million-dollar question is, a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, and I know the stress of not being able to save money is huge. How do people get around that stress enough to have somewhat of a normal life and not have to worry about, putting money away to save? Because some people just physically cannot do that. So
It's tough.
What is your ideas for that? Yep.
Thank you so much, Cindy. We really appreciate the call. You can check in anytime at 844-967-2789. We have the news coming up at the bottom of the hour, and then we're going to talk about all the wonderful things the Wisconsin Arts Board is doing and has done as they celebrate their 50th anniversary. So please stay close for that. You're listening to As Goes Wisconsin. We're on the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bry. Greg Bach is on the board. Carole Kane across from me in the studio. And we're very excited to welcome our next guests. George Tzougros is the executive director of the Wisconsin Arts Board, and board chair Brian Kelsey joining us as the Wisconsin Arts Board celebrates its 50th anniversary, working with art groups, artists, community groups, schools all over the state. And we're going to learn all about the wonderful things that they have done and are still doing. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Congratulations on 50 years. That's quite an accomplishment.
It sure is.
Carole wanted to know, George, what is the mission statement of the Wisconsin Arts Board?
Oh boy, it's a beautiful mission statement, and I commend people to our website. But the easiest way to figure out what we're about is what we like to call the 4 C's: creativity, culture, community, and commerce. And so we work with artists, arts organizations, community organizations across the state to help them bring those things forward, whether that's through grant making or technical assistance. We kind of do it all.
So we're talking about small theater companies. We're talking about, maybe I have a string quartet. Is it groups like that you help?
Most definitely. And it runs from the smallest group all the way up to the Milwaukee Symphony or the Milwaukee Art Museum. So it's a very wide range.
Okay, so what is the state of art in our state right now? Because, it's kind of disappointing to me in many respects that art kind of takes a back seat to a lot of other stuff like athletics and things like that. So what's the state of the art situation here in Wisconsin?
It's a great question. Brian, you want to start?
Sure. Yes, I work directly in the arts. I'm the managing director of Peninsula Players Theater. So I would say the arts are alive as ever, thriving as ever, but also in a very critical place post-pandemic, and looking at audience return at various levels, depending on which medium you're working with. And within the arts, theater are seeing different returns than concert venues, than visual arts. But the state of the arts in Wisconsin, I would say we are a group of individuals who have really done a great deal of work with not a lot of funding at the state level. If I say this is politically correct as I can, from the sense that Wisconsin does rank, I think we're 49th now. We were 50th for a very long time, and we're 49th in the nation for the amount of money that is invested through general purpose revenue funds from the state of Wisconsin. So the funding level from the state into the arts is critically low. And to be quite honest, when we look at our neighbors around us, it's pretty much an embarrassment at the level of funding that we receive from the state level. But after saying that, what we do with that money, and from the Wisconsin Arts Board and with the organizations that receive grant dollars, is pretty exceptional. The way that we're able to put that funding to work, and the return on investment from the state, from arts organizations, is huge. And I think the hardest thing that arts organizations have a hard time with is talking about the economic return of the value of art, because that's not what they're in art for. So as we need to justify our existence, it has really forced individual artists, all the way up to managing directors, executive directors of large organizations, to really be on target with their messaging of saying, sure, this is what we provide a community. We provide, a place of home. We provide employment to a number of individuals, and we provide an opportunity for folks to experience the arts. But look at what our economic return into our community is through individuals who attend our performances or see our galleries. Look at the amount of tax dollars that are raised. We do charge, like for the not-for-profit organizations, for performing arts. Wisconsin is one of a handful of states that charges sales tax on all of the ticket sales that not-for-profit arts organizations do. So I know I've scattered around that a little bit, but I would say the state of the arts is strong in Wisconsin. The state of the arts funding in Wisconsin is a completely different topic.
That's really disappointing. I had no idea that we were ranked that low.
Well, and it's even exacerbated by the fact that Minnesota is number 3 in the nation right now. So just to give you a sense of the disparity, Minnesota is investing over $7 per person in the state of Minnesota. Wisconsin invests 14 cents per person.
Wow.
So there's a
Right?
return on investment Brian talked about. The other thing we need to talk about is the return on imagination. So it's the other ROI, because frankly, we all know that we face lots of challenges as a state, lots of challenges as a nation. And the way we find ourselves through that is that we exercise our imagination and our creativity to come up with new and innovative ideas. So that's one piece of it. And then the other piece of it is, as we seek to retain and attract the entrepreneurs and the creative workers, we really need to invest in these things. And because creatives in the arts also lure creatives in the sciences and technology, et cetera, because here's the surprise: creative people like to be together and be inspired by one another. So we have room to move, but as Brian said, the state of the arts, we have some of the most creative artists. We have some of the most innovative arts organizations. And so we can't get too caught up in the numbers because it will bury the lead, which is the state of the arts are good.
If you're just joining us, George Tzougros is with us from the Wisconsin Arts Board, along with Ryan Kelsey, who is the chair of the Wisconsin Arts Board, just talking about their 50 years in existence and the work that they do for arts groups all over the state. And as you gentlemen were talking, all I could think of is how gray our lives would be without theater or art galleries.
That's my daughter. She's the light of my life, and she's a ceramics artist.
And she did it because she was going to become famous and rich, right?
Right.
No. Nobody goes into pottery going, this is where I'm going to make $1 million.
Yeah,
exactly. No, but I think you're right, Jane, because it's talking about the basic self-expression of humanity. It's the commonality of us. It's the expression of human existence. And I know that can sound esoteric to some folks when they're talking about funding social services and funding medical and funding fire departments. But without the arts, without the expression of what's inside of us, you're right. Where it becomes gray. Where is the joy? Where is the veteran who comes back from war who has arts therapy to help them get over trauma through PTSD? You can take this through so many different levels, because what it's doing is it's connecting humans together, and it's saying we have a lot in common, especially in our nation right now, where I think there is so much divide and so much talk of divide. It's really tearing down those walls and saying, let's focus more on what we have in common versus what we disagree upon.
Well, and we've also had the experience of COVID and being quarantined, and knowing that on one hand, we lost a lot of things that we could no longer go to. On the other hand, one of the way people got through the quarantine moments was picking up the instrument that they had put aside, picking up the paintbrush and starting to learn how to do that, reading the best books, listening to the best music, all of that stuff. So if you want to see the importance of the arts, we just lived through it. And it's just asking people the story, how'd you make it through COVID? Oh, I watched these great movies that I never had time to watch before. It's all the arts. So.
Absolutely. And as you were saying too, with all of the stresses in life and the stress of the pandemic and our political climate, good heavens, if we didn't have forms of self-expression, we'd have people self-combusting all over the place. Yeah. Just poof over here and poof over there and poof, there's another one.
Well, cultural understanding and cultural diplomacy, so not only here in our place, but across the world. I just this morning received a video from the Milwaukee Youth Symphony Orchestra from their concert in the Netherlands. And the ambassador, U.S. ambassador to the Netherlands, talked beforehand about how important it was that we were sharing understanding about each other through the arts. And, I really think some of those dimensions we lose sight of, but I do think they're crucially important.
Well, and as you said too, George, creatives attract other creatives. And if you want people to move to Wisconsin, you want people to move to your community in Wisconsin, there needs to be more than just the local high school football team. And no offense against that. That's a big community builder too, and that's very important. Absolutely. But that is not everyone's form of self-expression. And so you need live music. You need venues for those things. You need little arts companies. And I've done community theater almost all of my life. And it's been nothing but rewarding and joyful and delightful, and relationships that I've maintained for 30 plus years. So it's just it's good for you.
Well, think of it this way, Jane, as well, as we look at what's going on with a lot of the individuals who are graduating university, or they've left Wisconsin to go to university in some other state, returning home is, if they are in the creatives or interested in that, or even young and looking for things to do, it doesn't make Wisconsin a big a big destination if we're not investing in this at the state level downward. We're competing with Minnesota, Illinois, even Iowa. All of these states around us are investing far more money into the arts than our state is from a public standpoint. And so it doesn't give a lot of incentive for the younger groups to stay in our state.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Brian just said, because he did underscore the most important piece of that this is public funding that we're talking about. We need to celebrate all of the private philanthropists, all of the local businesses and corporations, and all of those that get involved and support in that way, because without them, none of this happens. So.
Exactly. I mean, we've been so fortunate with the level of support we've seen from private donors in the state. And I'd really love to echo what George just said, and then challenge our state public officials to say, look at what the private individuals are doing. It takes public-private partnership to make it really flourish.
Wisconsin, aren't we embarrassed we're being shown up by Iowa? Come on. Come
Not just
on.
Iowa, Alabama, Mississippi. And I mean, no
Alabama.
disrespect to the South, but if you look at the investment that some states that you would not think would invest highly in the arts, they're investing more than the state of Wisconsin right now.
That's unreal. It shouldn't surprise me, but it does. If someone is listening who has a small theater company or would like to find out about, I don't know, some of the networking that Wisconsin Arts Board does, who do they contact? Where can they find you?
So they can find us on the web at artsboard.wisconsin.gov. And if they want to see all the cool things that are happening for the 50th anniversary, they can go to wab50.com. And there they'll find
wab50.com.
They'll find a timeline. They'll find a school project that we're doing. We're doing 50 artists for 50 years. So there's all kinds of good stuff to see.
We will make sure and include all of that in our show notes when the podcast goes up after the show. It's been just delightful talking to both of you, George Tzougros and Brian Kelsey from the Wisconsin Arts Board, celebrating their 50th anniversary. And we're going to keep on this so we don't have to hang our heads in shame.
Well, I to tell you the truth, the information they just disseminated was shocking to me.
Right?
You know, and like I said, my daughter's an artist, so I want to try and help her as much as I possibly can. So
thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today, gentlemen. It's been a delight. Have a wonderful day.
Us.
You bet. We will be in touch. Don't go away. One more break before we get out of here. This is As Goes Wisconsin. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin. Jane Matnair in for Kristen Bry, Greg Bach on the board, Carole Kane across from me in the studio. And thank you to the listener who sent us that link for Not Dead Yet. Carole, that's
hilarious.
That is our unofficial theme song.
Okay, great. I take it.
I have to embrace that. I think it's I think it's fabulous. Fabulous and accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
I love talking to Brian and George, the segment that we just had on. I am really disturbed by the fact that just about every other state in the nation is spending more on the arts than Wisconsin is.
Well, and you made a very valid point in the fact that it's the color of our lives. You know, it's
the spice.
Right. And it's just to go and watch like a show or a theater performance, or like they just had Studio Milwaukee, which was an artist, like kind of a round robin that happened through the city. And the only reason I know is because Liz participated in it, and you could go to all these different galleries all around the city.
Neat.
And very, very cool. And like I said, I emceed that thing down at La Cage, and the talent was just extra. And to be honest with you, I can't carry a tune. I can't act worth a tinker's damn, but I certainly can appreciate people who can.
Yes. And what that brings to your life and the joy it brings and the
Laughter.
and the laughter, and sometimes addressing hard things.
Right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there's also something we said about the amount of money we spend on our arts is a reflection to others on how they see us, as far as our arts programs, our artistic output to other countries shows them how much we care about creativity.
Yeah.
And if we are getting outspent by Iowa, come on.
I'm going to hang my head in
I think-
shame over that for the
For
rest,
shame.
for the rest of my life.
The one that really takes me off is the Vikings territory. Why is
Minnesota?
Minnesota? Yeah.
Minnesota is California of the Midwest. They've got cool laws, cool people. They're helpful. They're nice. I know.
That's Kristen has Minnesota envy.
Oh,
I
really?
do
Oh, yeah.
too. I do too. If we didn't have a house, I'd be like, we're packing up.
Really?
Oh, I'd live there. It's beautiful.
See, and I have Michigan envy.
I love Wisconsin.
I do too.
I don't want to go anywhere.
Carole Kane loves Wisconsin.
I'm born and raised here, man, and I wouldn't change a thing.
I just wish we would get on board with some of the things that our neighboring states are doing that seem to be working for them, like legalizing marijuana.
I'm with you on that one.
Right?
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I think
come
it's
on.
kind of silly that
You-
we're sending all that money down to Illinois.
And even Iowa has medical marijuana.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
it's
I
silly.
mean, we're sending money to Michigan, to Illinois, to Iowa, to Minnesota. I mean, it's embarrassing. I did want to say something real quick. One of the callers, he didn't want to be on air
Okay.
talking about what Dr. Mike was discussing with regard to the question from the person. And I touched on this too. Some men have insecurities talking about finances because it can be a reflection on who they are as a worker and a person and how people see them. And I get that too. I totally get that. But I just wanted to relay that message to you both because he didn't want to be on air.
That's fine. You can always text if you don't, if
Sure.
you're not comfortable, joining us, calling in, you can always text in anytime at 844-967-2789. If you're watching the stream, you can leave comments on the live stream. If you have our app, which is a wonderful app, and everyone should have the Civic Media app, you can direct text right from the app, right, Greg? You can text and or call.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
So
It's a beautiful app.
it is a wonderfully beautiful app, and everyone, Carole Kane, should have it. So wherever you do your pod things or your app things, wherever you do your app
Oh
things,
man, you
don't-
can't get on Carole for not having technology when you then say the pod things.
wherever you go to buy your apps, you will find the Civic Media app there. It's civicmedia.us.
I know I'm technologically challenged. I get it.
That's
okay?
fine. That's fine.
My daughter just rolls her eyes, but at least my husband can't even turn on the TV, so at least I'm ahead of him in that regard.
You are ahead of the curve in that regard. Want to remind everybody, Kristen unveiled their daughter, Frances Louise, yesterday with a little intro video, and it is absolutely adorable. If you want to see it, you will go to TikTok or Instagram or Twitter and search for As Goes Wisconsin.
Sure.
And make sure you follow us
Right.
on those sites.
Yep.
And then you can see this adorable video of Lil Frances Louise.
She's adorable. She really is cute.
She's a
She's
peanut.
tiny.
She's a peanut.
She is a peanut. But she's long.
She's got
long but tiny.
a boopable nose.
Boopable nose, according to Greg Bach. And the plan is next Wednesday for Kristen either to come out here to the studio or she's going to join us from home from 10:30 to 11 o'clock. So,
Oh, that'll be fun.
yeah, we're going to update her with what's going on in the news, and she's going to give us baby updates. And I'm just curious, she's been home a week. Now, she hasn't even, tomorrow it'll be a week that they've been home with her.
Right.
So I'm curious to see what that first week is like.
It's life-changing.
I
I'm
bet.
I'm telling you right now, it is life-changing. And it was, I remember bringing Elizabeth home for the first time, and I got on the phone with my mom, and I just bawled because I was so overwhelmed. I didn't know what I was doing.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Do you think you were going to break her or something?
Well, I don't know. Listen, I was a great babysitter, and I always had infants in my babysitting career,
Right.
but it was overwhelming because this one belongs to me. I can't give this one back.
Oh.
this one belongs to me. And so I remember my mom on the phone. She goes, well, I guess you need your mom then, don't you? And my mom and dad drove in and they got a hotel and she came and helped me.
That's lovely.
It was lovely. Yeah.
That's lovely. It's like, that just reminds me of Steve and Miranda on Sex and the City when they had the baby. And it was, today's my day not to kill the baby. Tomorrow is your day not to kill the baby. Let's just try not to kill the baby.
You're right.
All right. Well, we are running up against the clock. We have the news coming up at noon. That's followed by Town Call with William Walters. The wonderful Todd Albo is on from 1 to 3 across the Civic Media Radio Network. Make sure you join him. And it's Matt Flynn and, of course, Devils from 4 to 6 p.m. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you, as always, for calling. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on the stream. Be back with you Monday morning. This is As Goes Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.